Hi everyone, this is Luc from ComicsTheGathering.com, and welcome to another episode of Fresh Off the Racks. This week for the week of October 25th. So this week I got three titles, one from Marvel and two from DC. So we'll start with Marvel. So we got The Amazing Spider-Man, number 790. Right over here, The Fall of Parker, part 2. And is a nice painted cover from the ever so talented Alex Ross. So there you go. So this is written by Dan Slott and Christos Gage, and written by the always amazing Stuart Immonen. So I'll just give you a quick synopsis on the story. I'll try to keep it spoiler free. So basically continuing the story from last issue, where Peter Parker is on a apology tour where he meets up with groups of ex-employees to talk about their compensations and a formal apology to each and every one of them. And the way there's a scene, a one-page drawing where it's a couple of panels, and you can see that he's starting his speech, his apology speech, the first panel, and as you can see, it's morning, and then he keeps on. And the speech gets different, but then it's a second panel, and it's a different group of people. And you can see it could be an afternoon. And then there's several panels like that, so you can see the passage of time. I thought that was really neat, the way it was drawn with the panels. So awesome stuff. You also see some Spider-Man action, of course. He has to fight this ex-employee of Parker Industries who has a supervillain suit but doesn't have a superhero name. So he just has his name, or name is Clash Clayton or something. So I'm a little unfamiliar. I'm familiar with that character, but he has like sonic powers or something, sonic gun. So that was fun. The Human Torch is involved, and Fantastic Four is mentioned. So, but what I find more interesting about that is the stuff about Peter Parker. I find it interesting that, and most of the time before in Spider-Man, it's everyone hated Spider-Man at one point. And now it's everyone hates Peter Parker, and everybody loves Spidey now. So the situations have changed. It's a nice little twist. I thought makes it for a good story. So So, and what can you say about Stuart Immonen? I mean, I think he's the best artist drawing Spider-Man, hands down, these days. It's just really good, and what I like about it is that hopefully he'll stick around for a while. Which brings a beef I have with Marvel Comics these days, is that the artists don't seem to stick around as long as they used to, and this is going to make me sound like a crusty and jaded old guy, but back in the 80s and 90s, if you had an artist if you had Amazing Spider-Man when Todd McFarlane started, he was on for several years, and it's consistent, and I love that. So you don't have these days. You're lucky if you have a series that you like and you like the artist. You're lucky if he'll stay for one story arc. So that needs to change, but it probably won't. But anyways, so great stuff, awesome title. Definitely pick this one up. So now from DC, we have Batman the Merciless, part of those Dark Knights metal tie-ins. And here's a nice shiny chrome cover, and what's great about these is that you can buy the standard cover without the chrome, and it's the same price, so you might as well get this one. It's it's prettier. So this so the same every week. We get these tie-ins. They're fun, and this one, I'd say this is my least favorite one. It's Bruce Wayne in another Earth, another DCU Earth, fighting alongside Wonder Woman and trying to defeat Ares. And then they manage to defeat him, remove his helmet, and then Bruce Wayne puts it on and sort of amplifies, gives him super strength, and but makes him crazy too. He becomes this unstoppable force, like a juggernaut, kills everything and everyone in his path. And then comes to this Earth, the current DC Earth, and wreaks havoc. And it's okay. The artwork's very nice. It's very colorful and like pastel colors. Looks like painted. It's very nice. I'm unfamiliar with the writer. I mean, I've heard of his name before. The writer is Peter J. Tomasi. It's a name I've seen a lot in the DC Comics, and the artist is Francis Manapul. Unfamiliar with his art at all, but I like what I see. It's nice. But again, it's not my favorite one, so I think we're almost done with these one-shots. There could be like one or two left. But there's no reason to not get it. If you like the others, you'll probably like this one. So check that one out. And then lastly, we have, again from DC, we have DC House of Horror #1. It's a one-shot. Here's the cover. Really nice, painted, very moody and creepy and disturbing cover right there. So, so this is a love letter to the old EC Comics. If you're unfamiliar with EC Comics, is a company. I think it was Entertainment Comics, and then in the 50s and 60s, they published these horror comics, and then by William Gaines, and there was a lot of controversy surrounding. If you ever want to know about that, just YouTube the story. It's really fascinating about censorship and all that. But I won't get into that. That's another story. So yeah, so a love letter to those comics like Tales from the Crypt, Creepy. So I'm a big horror fan as far as movies. I also like horror in comics. So, and I also like DC superheroes. So so the two merge, and then it creates this one shot, this wonderfully twisted one shot. So all the stories, there's 8 stories, and they're all written by Keith Giffen, who is a legend. If you know him, he's a legend in DC. I mean, if you remember comics from the 80s and 90s, it was a huge influence on comics back then. And I'm glad to see that he's still writing. So so yeah, keep in mind that these stories also, they're kind of like Elseworld stories, where they take characters and put them in different settings, different time periods. But it doesn't say Elseworlds on the cover, because I think that brand is no longer exists, or that imprint. But it's kind of like that. So it doesn't follow the DC continuity in any way, but it still manages to entertain. So yeah, so there's about 8. Like I said, there's 8 stories. About 4 or 5 are really good. The rest are just okay. My favorite one of my favorite ones, I have a few, but one of my favorites one is the JLA story, where it's Earth, and then it's been completely decimated. All the humans are dead because of a zombie virus, and the only survivors left are the JLA, who are on their moon base, or their watchtower, I think it's called. And then the Flash gets bitten. That's how the disease is transferred from host to host. And then yeah, Flash gets bitten, Green Lantern, and chaos ensues, and it's got a horrible ending. But then again, all these stories have terrible endings. It doesn't end well, and that's how it is in horror comics or horror movies. It's not always a happy ending. But that's fine. That's what makes these stories really good, really, really fascinating. So that one's a good one. There's also another that I liked, is the one of the first stories about Superman's origin. So it's Smallville, and then the rocket, lands in Smallville in Kansas, and yeah, and then it becomes a nightmare. The alien comes out, and it's injured or something, and then Ma Kent has to deal with this, and it's a nightmare as the alien tries to kill her. So that was a fun one. There's also another story involving Wonder Woman and the Ouija board and her friends. It's kind of creepy. I like that one. And then another one of my favorite ones is the story they took the origin of Two-Face, and they merged it with a story, a Godzilla-like story about this giant creature attacking Gotham City. And it shouldn't work. It shouldn't go together, but it does in a weird way. And the ending's really clever. I like what they did with that story. So yeah, the only thing is it's $10 for the comic, which it could be a little pricey. It could be out of your price range. But if you like Halloween and you like horror comics, and Halloween's just around the corner, and then you should definitely pick it up. I liked it a lot, and I'm definitely going to reread it because it's a fun read. So here you go. So that's the cover again. So those are the 3 comics for this week. Thanks for watching. As always, just check out www.comicsthegathering.com for full reviews for these titles. And then I'll see you next week, and keep on reading. Thanks.